to S4, home of Forest Moon Paranormal, where we explore the things that go bump in the night, examine that which strikes terror in the hearts of men, the supernatural, conspiracies, spirits, aliens, Bigfoot, and any other entities not yet explained, yet seen and felt by countless across the planet. Sit down, grab a coffee, and enjoy the ride. Join us every Saturday at midnight Pacific Standard Time on the Fringe FM, and locally on KSVU 90.1. Welcome to S4.
Oh, I love that laugh. So good evening or morning, depending on where you're at, folks. Welcome to S4, the voice of Forest Moon Paranormal, coming to you live from the Forest Moon Paranormal headquarters in the beautiful mountains, well, kind of rainy mountains of Concrete, Washington. So Forest Moon Paranormal is a highly active emergency response team for all aspects of the paranormal, from aggressive hauntings to alien interaction, Bigfoot, and other cryptids, and everything in between. That's terrifying. S4 is the voice while we discuss these things in depth. You can find S4 on the Fringe FM every Saturday at midnight, where you can find Lighting the Void with Joe Roop, Shift Happens with Cortana, and Dark Waters. We are also on terrestrial radio with KSVU 90.1 FM, locally from 10 to 12 Saturdays with our pre-recorded shows for local folks. So tonight we're changing up topics in light of it being Halloween weekend. Usually, S4 doesn't really talk so much about hauntings and spirits and whatnot, but tonight we are. It's been brought up by our listeners in the past, so they like to hear about the haunting side of things. So we're going to be discussing with our team, because it is also the team show tonight. So we're going to incorporate it. We're going to talk about haunting cases, the various types of hauntings, how to prevent it from happening, things of that nature. Tonight we have Michael Hall. Go ahead and say hi, Michael.
Hey, hello everyone. Nice to be with you.
And for some reason, we're having technical difficulties again.
It's not my fault.
There you go. I can hear you. Minor technical difficulty of hitting a button. So, all right. So we got Michael Hall tonight with others from UFOI team and the Forest Moon Paranormal's paranormal lawyer. R. Keith Andrews, our Forest Moon Paranormal's alien race specialist, who you can also find on YouTube as R. Keith Andrews. I know nobody can get enough of Keith, so go listen to him on YouTube. Hey, look for his books. And we have Cole Wigleitner, our Forest Moon lore and culture research specialist and owner of Statement of Sound DJ Services.
Hello.
How are we all doing tonight?
Just great, thanks. How's
Wonderful.
yourself?
Excellent.
Very good.
Real quick, I got to put out too, November 10th, our next team training, open to the public and any new team members. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Burlington Library. Topic's going to be UFOs and alien interaction. And that would be the stove. And actually, tonight's show covers a lot of what you've missed in the first training, so pay attention and send me a message. You listen to the show, and it'll get you caught up on training. So we're playing 2 boots on ground training missions, probably one in November, one in December. Get some more boots on ground experience. And does Peter Davenport, does he have like a weekly report that he emails out to people? Do you know, Michael?
Well, what he typically does is a bi-weekly or monthly, depending on what he can get out, update on his sighting reports on the website. So his webmaster, Christian Stepien, is in the process continually of updating all the reports that come into the center, and Peter is kind of looking through them and making some small edits and spelling and those kinds of things, and then putting them up there. But you might be able to sign up for notifications, but I don't think he sends out an actual newsletter.
Okay. No, I was wondering because I get Filer's files from the National UFO Center. And
I do too.
I was wondering if Davenport did the same thing.
No, actually, his website. I get the Filer's files as well. I really enjoy those reports from them. But Peter's website is much too top heavy with information. It would be difficult for him to send out emails with all that information every month. So I think he just makes it available, on the website.
Well, and what I like about Filer's reports too is he does a lot more than just what's been going on. He goes into the history. He goes into interviews with a lot of historical. He does all kinds of stuff in his reports, not just what's been going on lately. Yeah,
you're right. And he concentrates on fewer cases. Not fewer, but he has a lot more in depth on the cases that they report on.
Right. So I want to start tonight with some paranormal definitions, and I've just got to get this off my chest. It's really annoying when you run a group of 10,000 people, and everyone thinks they're a psychic medium. Do you ever get that?
I run into it more often than I care to count. And sadly, what I find with it is more often than not, the person claiming to be a psychic medium is what they end up doing is they ask a whole pile of questions and then turn around and regurgitate what the person has asked. I don't know. I can hear you fine.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yep.
No, the thing I find, because I end up dealing with it a lot myself, and one thing I found is, just to be clear for your listening audience there's only 3 questions that a psychic medium should be asking, and they're all imperative. Ask what the person's name is that they're looking for. Okay. And, well, I guess there's technically 4. What's the person's name? What is their relation to the person? In other words, why are you trying to bother this person? Because the one that's passed over may or may not want to talk. Also, find out what the birth date is. Because I had somebody they wanted to talk to a chap by the name of Dawn. So I started giving information and relaying messages, and all through it, the person's going, no, that's wrong. Well, by the end of it, the woman that had asked finally looks at me and goes, wait a minute. That's a 9-year-old kid, friend of mine that died when I was a child. But that's not who I wanted to talk to. And I says, well, let me ask you this. Does the information match him? And she goes, well, yeah. This is great. So for the listeners out there, the thing you got to remember is there's a lot of people that may have the same name. And it's kind of like we walk into a room going, is anybody out there named Dawn that wants to talk? The only other question that they should be asking, that the medium should be asking when they're going through the information, is, does this make sense?
Oh, yeah, and I completely agree. But so what's the difference? Because, we have a medium on the team. But what's the difference? Is it ego? What's the difference between a psychic medium and just someone that calls himself a medium? Is there a
Takes
difference?
far longer to say.
Well, yeah, I get that.
One's up.
But, so I've got one that's in the group going, yep, that picture's matrixing. Oh, yep, that picture's matrixing. Oh, yep, that. I'm so sick of hearing the word matrixing and pareidolia. You can't.
Wait a minute. That picture is matrixing?
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing there. It's just matrixing. And
have they by any chance got a kaleidoscope handy to look through the picture with?
Right. But that's where the paranormal's gone is never mind the experiencer. And don't get me wrong, there are pictures where there's nothing there. And my rule of thumb with these, if I can't see something within the first 10 seconds, then I just give up. I wasn't there when the picture was taken. I didn't get the feelings. I didn't get the something may have bumped you or whatever. But if you weren't there when the picture was taken and the person's adamant, there might be something there just because I don't see it. But and I notice the same few people all the time. Yep, that one's pareidolia. Yep, that one over. Oh, that one there is matrixing. The alien picture I posted. Oh my God. There was a handful of people that they saw the alien as soon as, within a couple seconds, just like I did. And is it pareidolia? No, it was not. I was in the room just prior to that picture being taken. There wasn't energy there. I didn't take a picture. One of the other investigators took a picture, and there was an alien right there in the corner, looking right at the camera. And several people saw it. Oh my God, there it is. It was like it was in your face. But and then I get these private messages. I don't believe in what your team does, and I have another one that's, you guys are so fake. You're taking work away from me. You're taking money out of my. Well, you know what? You're really not doing your job then, because my team's been accurate damn near 90% of the time.
Well, I'm going to ask you a bizarre sideways question here,
Okay.
but can you by any chance explain to me what a picture matrixing means?
So and I'm trying to think of how they explain it, but it's basically, in some of them, this particular individual was explaining that the camera light was moving in the mirror at the same time. I didn't see nothing in the picture either. Does it mean it's matrixing? No, it does not. But by their definitions of what matrixing is, I'm not a techie.
Yeah, me
Okay,
either.
I got it here. I got it here.
What do you got?
So, well, I can't say the second word because I can't freaking pronounce it. Apophenia,
Try that again.
commonly known in it's apophenia.
Okay.
Commonly known in paranormal studies as matrixing, is a common phenomena in which the brain perceives a stimuli, such as an image or a sound, as something it's not. So you know what I would take that as? Do you guys remember if a sound plays and you either hear this or you hear this, depending on what you're thinking about?
Okay.
Yeah.
EVPs.
It's been all over Facebook, where like some people will hear, I can't remember. With images, they're doing it with a dress that some people see it as white and gold, some people see it as pink and blue.
Okay, yeah, I got you. See, I knew what it was.
That would be the definition.
Okay. And that makes sense. It's terminology.
Yeah, that works for me, though.
And pareidolia is when your brain, it's common with pixelated pictures where your brain will see something and it's really not there. And it is common. But not every picture that somebody posts is pareidolia. And that's pretty much my point. It gets
can I just say how that the one person said we were taking money out of their hands? Good. If they're charging for that service, you know what? Too bad.
And
Well,
I
You are
completely agree.
you're taking money from people who are looking for closure from a loved one.
Well, this particular case they were complaining about was a missing persons case anyway. And
well, here's
if
yeah.
they're charging medium services to locate a missing person, they're taking money from a family in crisis.
Absolutely.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of caught in an interesting situation there. Now, number one, I agree with you wholeheartedly. If you've been called in to look for a missing person, absolutely go and do the job. It's not a question of charging money for it. Sometimes travel is kind of handy because you may not be able to get there depending on what your pocket is.
Mm-hmm.
But where it comes to the issue of what I end up running into is people that want to talk to somebody. They know the person's passed away. All that's been dealt with. They just want to make contact. There is a viable reason for charging for that sort of thing. And the simple fact of the matter is, for instance, in my case, if I'm not making money doing what I do, then frankly, I have to go out, find a mundane job, and I can't help nearly as many people.
Well, exactly. And when it comes to you're an astrologer.
Yep.
I see that a little bit different anyway, because you're actually giving them an astrology chart. You're giving them,
depending. Depending.
Well, you're giving them a service. For me, my opinion, a medium's a hit and miss, and any real medium's going to tell you they're only accurate 60 to 70% of the time. And
I gave up on trying percentages on that one.
Well, yeah, no. If any medium says, "Yep, I'm always right," no, okay,
They hang up on them.
Exactly. How come you haven't won the lotto yet?
Oh, now that's a whole different ballgame, and that one I can actually answer. Think of it this way: where it comes to the lottery, and this is the problem that psychics run into. If you're a psychic, why do you, why haven't you won the lottery? Well, the reason is this: psychics work on energy patterns. And where it comes to the lottery, you're looking at an automated system that upwards of 2,000 people have their energy in. You try and figure out which way it's going to go.
Yeah.
That's where the problem is.
Okay.
Figuring out what, husband and wife are up to is one thing, because there is only two of them.
I did see something today that made me laugh, and it was someone posted, I think it was my aunt, and she said, "I won $2 in the Mega Millions jackpot. Please give my family privacy while we come figure out what to do with our winnings."
Oh, God. No, that's
Yeah.
funny.
They better contact a lawyer immediately.
Right?
Yeah, because Lord knows he's going to want his 80% of it.
Yeah. The $1.80. As they say, it got 20 cents to divide amongst the family.
You can't even get 5-cent candy anymore. Like, what do you do? Like,
All right. So let's talk about what causes paranormal activity. So ordinarily, if I'm doing this presentation, because this is an actual presentation that we do, and for anyone that's in the group that actually wants to follow along by the slides, the actual presentation's in the files section. So the first thing we discuss here is violent crimes and domestic violence. And I think you would agree here, Keith, negativity begets negativity.
Oh, absolutely.
The lower vibration you have, which is depression, which is drug issues, which is domestic violence, things of that nature, it brings in negative entities. So two things happen with domestic violence and violent crime. It brings in malevolent entities due to the negativity of the action. It can also bring in protective spirits. If you have passed on loved ones and there's violence against the family member, it will bring in protective spirits at times. And so this is kind of geared for law enforcement as far as when they walk into a scene where there's domestic violence going on, they see shadows, they see any kind of activity like that. It's going to be their malevolence, which you'll feel because you'll feel a negative energy. Or, ask the family. Did you? All of a sudden, they're in a smoke-free home and they smell a cigar. Well, Grandpa smokes cigars. That would be a first clue. So, with violent crime, if there was a death, a homicide, car accident, things of that nature, spirits tend to get stuck. That's when we have to come in and basically let Joe know that you've died and you need to cross over. And oftentimes they're stuck at the scene of the accident. Sometimes they'll actually go home. So if somebody died of a violent crime, an accident, things of that nature, and the current tenant is curious why they've got this guy in their house. Well, he went to the most comfortable location he knew. He didn't stick around where the accident scene was. Sometimes they do. Have you guys seen that interesting video where you can actually see at the accident site where it looks like a spirit was leaving?
I've seen a couple like that.
I find those fascinating. I don't know how accurate they are. I don't know if it really happened like that, but
I know I saw one picture where they had the guy standing beside a vehicle that was a total wreck. And,
right.
I can tell you from personal experience that particular picture, if it was faked, they had seen it before because it looked identical to what I had seen happen in an accident I was actually witness to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a photography expert by any stretch.
Right.
I figure taking a picture, you grab a camera, you point it in the right direction, hope you got the picture. Oh yeah, you have to push the button, I think. But at least that, at least with that one, it was close enough. Like it was accurate enough, at least in appearance. It matched what I'd seen in person.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's why we have Josh. We get a picture we need to analyze. Josh does our photo and video analysis, and he's been to college for it. So he's been in the media field for quite a few years, so he knows what he's looking at. You've got to have a techie on the team. So the other end of all this, you've got spirits that are messengers. So these are the ones that, if they did die of a traumatic, say a homicide, sometimes they'll come back to try to bring justice. They want their killer caught. And we've encountered these a few times. And, we've had cases too where, the spirit of the missing that we were looking for actually helped locate the body. And once we, assisted the family and the family found the body, he left. He passed over willingly.
Well, the thing most people don't realize, many of the spirits, that's all they want, is enough attention from somebody to find the door.
Right. And it's actually more common often than not. So other cases we've done, there's more than one issue. In cases where houses have multiple activity going on, you'll find there's one malevolent entity that's there, and there's several spirits. The spirits are terrified. The spirits are basically enslaved by the malevolent entity. Once you defeat the malevolent entity and remove it, the spirits will pass willingly. So if the spirit's causing client issues, we figure out why. We either mediate, we pass them over. But, there's a common misnomer that, well, and you have these people that, well, all spirits need to cross over. No, they really don't.
No, in all fairness, some of them don't want to.
No. If they're not causing any problems and they don't want to cross over, then why are we going to cross them over? Seriously.
Well, it boils down to that freedom of choice thing, in my opinion. Right? Ask them if they want to go home.
Yeah. And
now, I have a question.
Of course, they're not terrorizing the neighborhood.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are they all always human?
God, no.
Or is there a lot of pet spirits out there?
Oh, God, yeah. There's, yeah.
Well, let's try.
Pet spirits are common.
Let's try.
Like the way to put it is, do all dogs really
go to heaven? Sorry, couldn't resist.
No.
Think of it this way. Yeah, I know. And in all fairness, I didn't try very hard to resist.
No, that wasn't a big
No, the reality is spirits coming. The spirits that stay here are human, alien, animal, vegetable, mineral, elemental. There are as many different types of spirits as there are types of corporeals.
Right.
It just depends on which one you look at. Which one you run into.
And we have had cases where, and it goes both ways. Spirits, why would spirits or entities attack pets? This actually came up yesterday or the day before. And, I don't understand it, but some of these people that harass me or send me messages have a hard time grasping that we do 5 cases a day. Well, that sounds like a lot. Well, you know what? It is a lot. And I wish it wasn't that many, but it is. It tells you right there that a lot of people have issues. And when society gets to the point where they can accept the paranormal, that number is going to triple, I fear. But, getting to animals real quick. I remember a case we had it's been a few months now, but you could actually see the cat on the bed picked up by something unseen. It was on video. And it definitely wasn't matrixing. You could identify that one. That was easy. And so we went in, and it turns out it was a fae. It was a fae creature, and fae don't like cats. Are you guys still here?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And you are right. And now, in all fairness, it's not a question of just the fae. Of fae categorically don't. There are some fae that actually get along very well with cats.
Well, those are more the earth fae, the ones that are the animal healers and whatnot.
Well, the funny thing is, one of the reasons the fae don't like cats is because cats can see them coming, and frankly, fae like to be hidden.
Right. So, cats and dogs and other wildlife, some wildlife, not all of them, I don't think, can actually see in the 4th dimension. So that's why, the old adage that animals can see what you can't, well, it's true. Because they can see in the 4th dimension. Which is, in one of the cases we just recently had, the animal was seeing the entity, the animal was her guardian, and the animal was dealt with. And I'll leave it at that. But that kind of puts your animal, your pets at risk when there's malevolent entities that are attacking you, because the animals can actually see and respond to them.
Yeah, more often than not. Mind you, the thing you got to remember is just because they can see them doesn't make it a danger. It's when the entity that's there is problematic that it can be a pain in the neck.
Yeah, and Trippin's bringing up in the chat room. Yeah, let alone smell as well. They can. They have a very heightened sense of smell, so they can also smell the entities or Bigfoot. So this is where you and I always kind of clash a little bit, Keith. Is when someone dies, their personality is the same as when they were alive. Where I not cross that line, but I'm trying to think how to explain it. So before they cross over, once they cross over, the personality is different. But if they're stuck here, their personality is the same.
And that one, for the most part, I will pretty much agree. But let's understand that it's their personality. Oftentimes, the subconscious personality that people don't necessarily see also vies for dominant control.
Mm-hmm.
So it can get, so just because somebody dies, like if an angry person dies, quite often they're still angry when they get over there.
Right.
But not always.
I'm thinking more like the serial killer types. The serial killers ain't going to change. Now, once they cross over the veil, yeah, they will change. But if they're stuck here in this realm...
Oh, yeah, they're stuck here. They're still holding on to it. The only one... There was one case where that wasn't the way it held. And that was, quite frankly, Jeffrey Dahmer.
He was a unique one.
Yeah. Well, yes, he was. And don't get me wrong, I'm not condoning what he did. I mean, heck, he didn't condone what he did.
No. He was... I don't know. He was stuck doing what he was doing somehow.
Yes, and he knew it. But that's 1 in a million, if you will.
Right.
So I got a question, though.
Mm-hmm.
Have we ever encountered anyone who has crossed over and come back and decided to stay?
Oh, yeah. That happens all the time.
Now, do they have a heightened sense of, like, a better understanding of everything type of thing?
Well, they do. But, so if they cross over and they come back, most of the time they do not stay. They're the ones that will come back and they'll check on their family. They are more the guardian spirits.
Yeah. And they'll come back in and start watching over the guardian. Even, oddly enough, if they are a murderer and they go across and they cross over and then come back as a guardian, they're not coming back as a murderer, but they will come back with the knowledge of what a murderer is up to in order to protect their family.
Okay, and that makes sense. So, I'm just going to throw a scenario out there. So, if Bundy was to die, cross over the veil, and come back, could he flip around and try to catch murders?
Yes.
Okay.
And he'd be very good at it because he's already thinking that way.
Right. And that makes sense, actually. So psychiatric disorders. We're going to hit on that real quick because that kind of plays a big role, especially what we do. So
well, I'm perfectly healthy. How about you?
They're tricky to identify. So entities are drawn to weakness. So if you kind of, and that's why we have a therapist that's very good at what she does, and we actually pull her in anymore. We pull in extended care at the same time as the astral's going in, so that extended care can actually track the case and keep up with it. So that if there's no being pulled in at the end of a case, because then they have a whole lot of catch up to do, to see what happened, see what's been done to clear it, so on and so forth, and they can just jump right into the extended care side of it. So what the extended care does is teaches the client how to get their life back, how to protect themselves, how to cleanse their home, how to shield, ground, clear, and overcome that fear. Because some of these folks have dealt with the paranormal for so many years fear is second nature. So, getting
Absolutely.
well, yeah, I'm thinking. So, getting them past that fear is half the battle. Because, it's kind of like PTSD, and some of these folks do get PTSD. Once you get them, get their brain to understand that, the knocking's gone, the scratching noises are gone, so we don't expect them anymore. Then they can move on.
Well, that unfortunately is a lot of the problem. People get caught have that kind of a traumatic experience, and pretty much right away, even when you clear it out, every little sound is going to sound the same way to them.
Yeah, and and then once we do clear the issue out, all of a sudden the water pipes start knocking. It sounds the same, so then right back into that panic mode again. And I want to give a shout out to Chris and Brent real quick, because I know Brent's in the emergency room right now, really sick.
Oh my gosh!
Why would you be there? I mean, that's just the wrong place to hang around.
Yeah.
But they're both listening.
Oh,
all right.
I'm sure they are, and the whole emergency room staff is probably listening too. Oh. So when we go into a case, another thing we ask is, was there a recent death in the family? What you have to identify when you're talking to clients is, one, when did you first start noticing it? Two, did it follow you from location to location? As in, did you move from one house to another? Or did it just start when you moved into the new house? Three, did you bring any? Have you recently bought any antique furniture? Any, anything old? Because that could play a role too. Ross Allison's presentation was awesome at the Caribou Paracon. When him and Dave Weatherly were talking about haunted toys.
Yes.
And it happens. You go to an antique shop and you buy a new piece of furniture, and if there's a spirit attached to it, it comes home with you. So we'll talk about how to clear some of that stuff out towards the end of the show. But those are questions we ask, and we have a very extensive pre-investigated questionnaire. Some people kind of gawk at filling it out. But it's there for a reason. It's there for, one, documentation. So if you come back with another issue again, we can look through our files and go, okay, they're here in 2016. They had this, and now we got something new. So it's very extensive. It goes into, how long have you lived at the residence? Did anything happen before you moved to the residence? Because some spirits are stuck on property. Some spirits are stuck in their home. You're not, it's not your home. It's the spirit's home. Especially if they owned it prior. And if you start doing any kind of remodeling, things of that nature, that tends to upset spirits because you're remodeling their home. Make sense?
Absolutely, It does.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why they can sometimes get upset when you're going to remodel, because they don't want their house changed.
Right. So the other... go ahead.
Rest assured, trying to tell them that it isn't their house anymore doesn't go over well, because the usual complaint I find is, well, I didn't sell it, therefore it's mine.
Oh, yeah, not even a little bit. And, and something about closets. You don't touch the closet. I see closets, I guess, as a safe haven. That's quite often
where... There's a lot of traffic.
Yeah. Well, Monsters, Inc.,
Right.
I could imagine the same would even be true for items that spirits have attached themselves to. If you bring something into your home, I would imagine if they didn't even like the placement of where you put it.
Oh, you know.
Oh yeah, very much.
That just brought, yeah. So, I had a staff sergeant I worked with in Germany back in 1990, and he had a ghost in his house, and him and his spirit, they have an arrangement. He doesn't remodel the furniture. He doesn't move it around, not at all. And that spirit is there to scare anybody off while he's in the army in Germany. So he doesn't worry about his house because he's got a ghost watching over his house, literally.
Yeah, there's a neat little watchdog.
Right. And that's common too. With some clients, they don't want anything removed. They just want to know who it is and why they're there. And, we get them those answers and we move along. Case closed. And that's where the mediation side comes in too. Once you explain to the spirit that you've passed, and I always use the movie The Others always as an example of it, and I'm not, just telling you about this is a spoiler for it, but once they understand they've passed, and they've been scaring the dog and the kids, walking around and making noise and knocking on doors, and sometimes you can come to an arrangement with that spirit and the client that, okay, he's not going to do that anymore, he can stay, and case is done. That simple. So the last thing we need to talk about is, I'm trying to think, I can't remember the terminology for it. Basically, it's like a VHS tape, where it's not an intelligent spirit. It's just basically time playing over itself again.
Oh, I know what you're referring to, and I don't know the term you're talking. I know what you're referring to. Like a time loop.
Yeah, there you go. It's an energy loop. And these are the cases where a client will see the same apparition at the same time of day, or it'll even be an anniversary. If you can figure out the date, the time, of always seeing the same apparition, you can put a name to it, who it is, and what happened, because they're just kind of stuck in time. Now, how to clear that is, one, sometimes just a simple smudging will work. Sometimes, but you gotta do a real deep cleaning to get that energy loop out. And some people enjoy the energy loop, so there's no reason to stop it. But these are the cases where you're not going to get an EVP, you're not going to get any kind of intelligent interaction, because there is no intelligence there. It's just an energy loop. So you guys got anything, Ned?
Well, I figure you pretty much said it there. I mean, it's kind of like somebody took a film of it, like took a movie clip of it, and he's just playing it over and over.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. So as far as spirits go, I think we've covered the categories. And I think, poltergeist. Poltergeist just came up in FMP a few days ago too. So sometimes, actually, we have a couple of categories that we need to talk. Shadows too, because we just had a shadow case come up as well. So poltergeists, more often than not, the first thing I ask a client, if they talk about items, objects moving, objects being thrown, things of that nature, is, do you have a prepubescent child in the home? And it doesn't have to necessarily be a prepubescent child either. Anyone that's not grounded, anyone that's just they're always energetic, they're always moving around, but it's most often with kids. And the activity will only happen when they're around. If they're not home and the activity stops, then I would teach that kid grounding. Because once you start grounding their energy, you're going to find the activity will stop. The other type,
Yeah.
the other type's an entity. There are entities and spirits that will throw stuff. They'll, you make them mad, they're going to throw stuff. And those ones we just clear out. But by definition, poltergeist is actually German for noisy ghost. So that's the bottom line is all it is. But they did a study, I believe it was in UK that they did a study on it, and they found that the prepubescent child was the main cause for poltergeist activity.
Is it the cause of it, or is it the kind of like reaction to their energy or something? That's a good question.
I don't know. I'm not sure how to exactly answer that one, to be honest with you.
I kind of figure that's kind of like the chicken and the egg. It depends on which who the poltergeist is or what is causing it.
Yeah, I picture, when I think of it, I picture a whirlwind of energy around this kid that's not grounded, and this whirlwind of energy is just picking stuff up and throwing it. Can you envision that?
And it actually, that does make sense. Oddly enough, when I've seen poltergeists, I've seen, quite seriously, they look like the upper torso crawling across the room and throwing whatever. But the bottom looks like it's been sheared off, kind of like, an old nightgown sort of thing.
And that one is a big nope for me. I'm out.
So Tripp's got a question. Odd thinking. Has anyone seen someone sleepwalking? Could our energy spirit just be in a sleepwalking phase till they learn they have passed? I.e. the bumping, knocking noises. And that's a thought-provoking question. So, and I'll discuss it now. Somebody actually asked in the group earlier because we wanted to hear about the World War II pilot I talked to in Germany. Because I had a good discussion, and actually you and I have talked about this situation, Keith. So I lived in an apartment over a Greek restaurant in a little town called Dettelbach. Dettelbach's well over 100 years old. Very, very old town. We live next to a winery. And the cellar of this building is dirt, and there's hooks in the ceiling. Never could figure out what the hooks were for. But you go in the cellar for one. You could feel a presence down there, but you could hear giggling, kids giggling, and it was just this is before FMP was even around. So I wasn't doing clearing. This particular case I moved. We weren't dealing with it. And actually we moved after the knife went flying across the kitchen. But yeah. So this particular apartment, the door would open by itself. The pictures would move on their own. There was one day I actually had a smell of garbage actually moved through the hallway. It was a very evil presence. So I wound up having a discussion with this World War II bomber pilot. I can't remember what his name was. I think he did tell me at one point. And he didn't want to pass. He liked it there. But he said, basically, there are a lot of spirits in our apartment, but there was one very, very evil spirit there that in the 18 to 1900s butchered kids. And that was the very malevolent feeling that we got. to say the least. And that explained the hooks that were in the ceiling of the cellar. But, you know, he didn't want to cross. He was completely happy going to the bakery and, you know, haunting it. And that's what he did. But the way he explained spirits is, after you die, if you're not stuck, you have the choice of either staying, which we do have a spirit here in Concrete that is just like this guy. He chooses to stay. He stays in the hub. And he's got no desire to pass. He's died in the 1900s. He's like 22 years old in his life. And he's completely happy. So, you know, again, this guy, same thing, prefers to stay in Dettelbach. But he said after you die, you have the choice. You can either pass over and get back in line to be reborn again. So, basically reincarnation.
Yeah, it must be understood, or will be when you get there. It's not exactly a line. It's more like a ballroom gala where everybody's walking around talking to everybody to set things up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're absolutely not forced to make a choice. You're not forced to go back down. That is pure freedom of choice.
Yeah, right. But you know, he didn't, and that's what was odd, because you know we always think of violent death, and I would imagine a World War II bomber pilot would have been a violent death. I would imagine he'd be stuck. But he didn't seem to be stuck at the same time.
Well, that's just it. A violent death doesn't automatically mean they're stuck.
Right. So what makes a difference? What differentiates?
It really boils down to, from what I've gathered from the ones I've spoken to, it boils down to whether or not they feel that they had something left undone that cannot be, that they are not willing to ignore. You know, like in the case of the bomber pilot, I have no doubt it was violent. He probably went down in the plane. But the fact of the matter is, he didn't have any reason to move on. He wasn't upset by it. It was a risky gag that he knew he was garnering. Right? It was a quick transition, so he figured, why the heck should I worry about it? I'm just going to go down and party.
And that makes sense. That actually makes perfect sense. My cat's playing with the microphone.
At least he's not caterwauling.
No, he's just, yeah. So, let's talk about shadows, because shadows come up all the time. And I think there's several explanations for shadows, besides the fact that what some people call the shadow being. What can you tell us about shadows, Keith?
Well, they're usually caused by, something solid in front of the light source. But I'm presuming... I'm not sure if that's the way you're wanting to go here. No, no, shadows on the whole are an entity that is comprised solely of the darkness. And more often than not, they're way beyond watching. They're looking for something specific. So technically they're watching, but what they're doing is they're watching for some sort of a trigger or some sort of an event that enables them to complete, more often than not, the task that they were setting out to do. What I found with a lot of them is that they're there because they are still upset with somebody that was left behind. Usually this means somebody murdered them, they knew who it was, and they were looking to figure out how to make things balance.
Okay. And that makes sense as far as the explanation of the entity style. Now, not sure if you've heard of the spies. There are also shadows that are actual spies for magic users.
Oh, yeah.
And we've encountered them quite a few times. They're not hard to banish and not hard to follow, because people that use these spies leave an energy trail.
Yeah, but it's only neon green.
Oh, yeah, it's fluorescent. It's real easy. It's real easy to follow the source right back to where they are, and then we just bind them. Bye-bye. No, you're not going to be spying on anybody anymore. And, stupid. But, so you have the entity style, you have the spies, which, generally speaking, the spies won't really leave a feeling. They'll leave you the feeling of being watched and observing. That's it. Nothing.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, with the spies, you can disrupt them if you know what you're doing, which works out well. They vanish virtually without a trace, except for whoever sent them has a headache to make a migraine look mild.
Yeah. The last shadow, well, actually, I almost see sometimes I see thought forms as possible shadows as well sometimes. What do you think?
They look very similar, but they feel different. But you are right.
Because I see, thought form could be a lot of different things. Slender Man, for example, is a thought form. Think of universal thought projection, universal consciousness. These guys with Slender Man, they bring out this image, they bring out this creature, they name him Slender Man. They make him totally horrific, put him all over the internet. You have 11 billion people looking at Slender Man that all get terrified and bring him to life. That's a perfect example of a thought form.
Yeah. And that's a carryover from centuries back, quite literally, where that was actually commonplace, where making a thought form physical, that was how society was. Mm-hmm. Slender Man is just a carryover of that ability, but the same principle can be used to manifest material objects in today's world that are of a beneficial source.
And that makes sense too. The last shadow I'm going to bring up, because we're getting close to our top of the hour break time, but is the Rogue. And they are an alien race that actually uses a shadow to terrorize, and, well, frankly, they're a very violent race. They're mostly off the coast of California, Italy, and Germany, last I knew, and they go back as far as the 13th century. And they appear as shadows with a top hat and or a cloak. Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah, they're actually kind of a rare one, though.
Right, but they're known for murdering and slaughtering, but they only do it from, I believe it's January to April in the year.
Well, that would be the first issue. The other issue is whoever they've targeted, they do not strike at random.
Okay. Now, I know the Black Dahlia was one of their targets, and I've heard some theories that they were actually Jack the Ripper. Have you heard that one?
I've heard the theory of it. I don't buy that one in particular.
Okay. Anyway, it's time for our break. So when we come back, we will carry on this discussion, and we'll start talking about some of the Fae, and then what brings on Bigfoot and what brings up abduction and some other things. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
This is Joe Root from Lighting the Void, and you're listening to KTLK Digital Broadcasting Station, The Fringe FM.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Select Joe Roop at checkout at ancientlifeoil.com.
This is Rev Dan Lopez from Spiritual Warrior Today Radio, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Who were the real ancient Egyptians? What is it about ancient Egypt that captivates us all? The critically acclaimed series Magical Egypt is back with all new episodes. Let Chance Gardner and company take you on another adventure through Magical Egypt in the new series Magical Egypt 2. Magical Egypt 2 attempts a forensic reconstruction of the science of the ancients through a study of ancient aesthetics. Also, the best researchers and authors in the field like John Anthony West, Graham Hancock, Laird Scranton, Robert Bouval, Lon Maladuquette, Aaron Cheek, and more join together to explore the topics of the esoteric and the hidden messages of the ancient Egyptians. Just go to magicalegypt.com right now and put in the code word FRINGE and get 10% off any download or order, including the groundbreaking original Magical Egypt series, as well as the new episodes in Magical Egypt 2. Also, check out the great work and the companion series at magicalegypt.com. Click the banner on the Fringe FM or go to magicalegypt.com and use the code word FRINGE and get 10% off your order today while it lasts.
You asked for it. We listened. Changes are coming to the Fringe FM. Hear the Paranormal Code with Rich Giordano live Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, starting July 9th.
July 9th, we're going to be going 4 nights a week on the Fringe FM.
Followed by Lighting the Void with me, Joe Roop, live at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Then, stay up with us in the early morning hours for some of the best paranormal and alternative programming around. The truth is out there, and so are we. The Fringe FM.
Ew, yuck. They're unhealthy. Bugs. I hate bugs. Our home is clean, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. From contact, it kills bugs. Plus, Orange Guard kills hidden bugs and keeps new bugs away for weeks. The ingredients in Orange Guard are on the FDA generally regarded as safe list, so Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com and Ace Hardware.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Preston Dennett from PrestonDennett.weebly.com, and you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
My name is David. I suffered from MS, or multiple sclerosis symptoms, since 1986. For years, doctors tried to help, but didn't give me any real hope. I tried almost everything. I was afraid this was my future, but I did not give up hope. 8 years ago, a healthcare worker told me about ReginaStem. I called ReginaStem. ReginaStem explained how stem cells worked. No promises, just a simple explanation of the science. They treated me with respect and understood my journey. For the first time, I felt hope. Now I can jog and snow ski once again. It's been amazing. I have been symptom-free of multiple sclerosis for 8 years. I have learned that stem cell therapy has a broad range of medical therapy, from COPD to chronic pain and diabetic neuropathy. It's an amazing therapy. If you want to talk about your chronic pain or your chronic symptoms, call ReginaStem today.
Call 305-224-1858. That's 305-224-1858. 305-224-1858.
All right, welcome back to S4 tonight, folks. Tonight's our Halloween team special. Hope you all are enjoying tonight's discussion. Don't forget, you can find the archives on the Spreaker site and on our S4 YouTube channel for all the shows you missed in the last 2 years. Yeah, it's been, 2.5 years now? Anyway, so back to the show. We're talking about, I think we were getting on to the Fae about now, were we not?
Yes,
we were. That's what you started with, yeah.
So, Fae are an interesting character. I know, Keith, you can I'm gonna open the window so you're gonna hear rain in the background, but I gotta smoke. So, Fae are interesting characters, and go into some of the Fae races that you've dealt with, Keith.
Well, all of what most people refer to as elves or the fairy folk are Fae.
Right.
And there's a lot of different variations. Okay, we were talking just, I think, last week about your dryads, your sylphs, even your merfolk are sort of related. They're not actually Fae, but they are similar. The sea elves, on the other hand, the sea fairies, are very much Fae. You know,
right, and Undines. We did 3 different shows. Actually, episode 1, 2, and 3 of S4 just on the Fae.
Yeah.
So that tells you right there how many Fae there are.
Yeah, even the satyrs fall under the category of Fae.
Fauns too, right?
Satyrs and fauns are the same thing, just a different word for it.
I got you. So we've been dealing with, when you start seeing environmental issues on this planet, is when you start seeing Fae cases kind of rising up a little bit, because Fae are involved with the environment.
Oh yeah, very much.
And
the difference is they're not the ones that start the fires in the woods.
No,
but they are the ones that will guide the fires to take out the buildings of the people that they can get to.
Well, can you blame them?
Well, technically, yes, they're the ones doing it.
Oh yeah. But frankly, I've always wondered, and I know you've got your opinions about Bigfoot, but I think Bigfoot may not be Fae exactly, but I think they're guardians of Fae.
And that part I would agree with. That one, in all honesty, I'll stand right beside you with.
Right.
Well, you would imagine that if they are existing in the same environment, that there's got to be some kind of interaction or relationship between the two. That people are also mentioning that the Bigfoot are both physical and corporeal at the same time. They can kind of disappear and go into different dimensions, possibly. So that's kind of flies in the face of some of the nuts and bolts UFO folks. But I think probably it's all tied together somehow.
And I would completely agree with that. If you go with the interdimensional theory, which I do, and Larry Brown, our Bigfoot specialist on the team, kind of walks that line as well. Based on the fact that you have all these people that put their game cams up, and you'll have the deer and the coyote and whatnot. You see the wildlife in the environment, and then all of a sudden the camera is going to go white, and they'll hear primate noises. And Cole, tell us about that noise you heard just the other night.
Okay, so me and my wife were out on the deck having a cigarette, and it was about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. It wasn't raining here, which is abnormal, but beyond our yard, we heard what sounded like a gray ape. And it wasn't the normal grunting you would hear from an ape. It was one of their howls. And we actually went through a list of animals to try and identify what this was. And that was the closest we could get to, was that sound.
Well, I can...
Now, we're in Concrete, Washington. There are no gray apes here. I can guarantee that.
No, but there is something there that's very similar in configuration to a great ape. It just ain't human. It's also not terrestrial. It's something called a wada.
What is that, Keith?
Basically, looks very much like a great ape. But they are... Well, first of all, they're not from around here. Second of all, they do have the capacity to remain invisible, as in they've got the ability to basically shunt light sideways, if you will, enhanced camouflage. Okay.
Okay.
Part of that is because they, quite simply put, vibrate a lot faster than people. Like a lot faster than the human eye can track. Okay. But the one big difference with them is they aren't the 8 foot tall. The tallest are about 5.5 to 6 at best.
Now, are they a relation to Bigfoot?
No, they're actually closer to a relation to Terran apes. They're just not Terran.
What's your origin?
So I had no view of this. I will say that. It was too dark out. We couldn't see anything.
Question for you. Did it sound like it was coming from ground level or from up in the trees?
Ground level, because we don't have that many tall trees in towards the west of us, so there wouldn't have been anything that it could actually be climbing into. But I will say, so it howled once, and then about, I'd say at least 13 to 15 birds responded, including owls.
Yeah, that would be normal. The other thing that usually goes with water is right after the howl or right before it, you'll hear a rustling sound that sounds like either leaves or grass, but it'll be right behind it. Right behind or right in front of it.
Yeah, I couldn't tell that because this is about maybe 60 feet away.
Yeah, that would be a little bit rougher.
So, and we did hear some rustling in back there. But then again, we live in the mountains of Washington. We hear rustling all the time.
Mm-hmm.
During last week's show, I know there was a skunk probably 15 feet from where I was talking. So,
don't scare it.
You just never know what you're going to find out here. But that is the first time I've ever heard that sound out here. And there is no house in our backyard.
So, what's the origin of the creature you're talking about, Keith?
Well, number one, they're off-world. We start there. But they came here and they came here way before mankind evolved, but they came here when they found out that man was starting to evolve. And thereby, quite frankly, came to study man itself, not the planet, not people, and they are not, or not the other flora or fauna. They came to simply watch the evolution of man. And two things they don't do. They do not do anything in the way of mutilations or abductions.
Okay.
You know, you will find, if they're around, though, they do have an interesting way of bending trees into a kind of a cave, you know, into a kind of a living shelter.
Right.
You know, unlike a lot of entities where they go to make a shelter, they'll cut the tree down. These guys won't. They bend it to their will. And yeah, and I don't mean that by mentally doing so. I mean they physically weave it.
Interesting, because, you know, you hear stories from loggers and sometimes hunters where they'll actually find structures kind of like that.
Yeah. They aren't made by Bigfoot. They're made by water.
Now, for those that are in the FMP group, if you go in the file section, I always tell people, go to our library. We have a pretty vast library in the files. You will find a book from the 1800s that talks about the mysteries of the mountains, the mysteries of the woods. You know, I haven't even had a chance to read it yet, but you might find some of the stuff in those books, actually. I have all these books, but I don't have time to read. Yeah.
Well, you know, if you didn't work so much, you'd have a little more time to read.
Right? I know it. So that brings our next topic of what attracts Bigfoot. So Bigfoot's found in the mountain areas. You won't find, not to my knowledge, you won't find Bigfoot in cities or in residential areas too often.
No, but once in a while you will find them in the outskirts. You certainly don't find them in downtown core.
No, not even a little bit.
I do got to say, the thing that attracts Bigfoot is probably female Bigfoot.
Oh, and here I thought it was kokanee. I know that's what the commercial said.
So they do seem to migrate to higher ground or elevations when the winter sets in. They don't hibernate; they just migrate. They tend to follow wild dog packs, coyote packs, wolf packs, things of that nature. They're following food, I think. If you sense a Bigfoot, set up a gifting site. Things I suggest for gifting sites is put CDs up in tree branches. They like shiny stuff, like everything else does. They like marbles. They like Hot Wheels. They like marshmallows. They like music. If you hear tree knocks, knock back, and sometimes you'll get an intelligent response. That's always fun, actually. I actually have a video in the group where and it really sucks not having technology, but because my camera wouldn't pick up the sound, but we heard him knock, we knocked back, and we got a response. And you know, it's always fun when you get intelligent response with paranormal issue, with paranormal. Same thing if you're doing an EVP session and you get a response back from the spirit.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's always fun when you can actually communicate with them, and some of them are all too happy to communicate.
They are. And you still have the people that there's no such thing as paranormal. No, well, you haven't experienced it then. So moving on to alien abduction, because I'm moving a little bit quick now so we can get to the protection aspect. So with alien abduction, what you'll find with many abductees is if you ask them if their parents or their grandparents have been taken, the answer will be yes. Because, again, I'm not going to hit abduction too much because that'll be another show. And we'll listen to the archives. We talk about abduction all the time. But with a majority of abductees, I get asked, well, I'm not going to get taken, am I? Well, if you haven't been taken now, you probably won't. And I'd say that's a pretty solid answer.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because if they haven't taken you now, there's, if it's the science, if it's the science guys, they've already got their subjects. And I hate using that word, but they're tracking DNA manipulation. They're tracking bloodlines. And so 9 out of 10 times you're going to find that either your parents, sometimes they'll skip a generation, so they'll check your parents or your great-grandparents. And somewhere along your bloodline you'll find that someone's been taken. And that's because they're checking DNA through the family.
Yeah. That's because they track the migration.
Right. And Kayla's asking what kind of lifespan, and I'm thinking she's talking about the Walla. What's the lifespan of the Walla?
On average, about 60 years.
And so they're interdimensional?
No, just non-terrestrial. Although they have set up an awful lot of footholds here. It's like I was mentioning the other day. When we start talking about different dimensions, everything that is on this planet is third dimensional. It's just a great deal of it vibrates so fast you can't see it.
Okay.
And if you've got the ability to adjust your vibratory rate, you can appear to step in and out of a veil because you're literally fading out.
Right.
The other thing you also have to remember is some of these guys have constructs like tents that are so well camouflaged it look like they're stepping through a slice in time in the space-time continuum, aka interdimensional. But it's not interdimensional.
And that makes sense. So since we're talking about hauntings, let's go to the signs and symptoms of a haunting. And we're going to go by the senses. So we're going to start with sight. So what you watch for is shadows, signs of spirits, level entities. They move on their own energy, not associated with anyone else in the room. Lights come off, coming on and off on their own. And so I'm going to go into the mundane reasons for some of these too, so you can kind of rule out on your own whether it's paranormal or not. So if lights are coming on and off on their own, have you checked your wiring? Then you've got knocking. So the knocking noises are often heard in the walls or on the door, on the windows. They can be spirits. Some cases they're aliens. Which races do you know of that do the knocks, Keith?
Well, knocks, well, the water definitely do.
Mm-hmm.
You will periodically find, depending on the situation, Mobians may, if they're actually trying to stay concealed. Oddly enough, though, if it's them and you know Morse code, you can actually read it to start with. There's a lot more races that do more of a click than a knock.
Right.
Okay. Obviously, as you well know, Bigfoot or Yeti or Abominable Snowman, whatever you want to call him, clearly he uses the knocking method.
Right.
Okay. Vegans, if they're trying to, and that's vegan, not vegan.
Right.
Vegans, if they're trying to communicate over a long distance, will certainly use a knocking method. And of course, 3/4 of the woodland spirits will.
Oh yeah, the Fae love to knock.
Yeah.
Completely agree with that. So with footsteps are actually, let's back up because we got to talk. Since we're talking about knocks, Bigfoot's known to knock on walls, and of course we all know about the Bigfoot tree knocks in the mountain areas. Footsteps are common with spirits. Footsteps are also common with Fae. Heard going upstairs. You'll be downstairs in your house. You'll hear footsteps on upstairs. That can also be sometimes your water pipes knocking, things like that. Doors and cabinets opening or closing. Well, do you have a mouse problem? Do you have heat or AC vents nearby that's making a move? Is the house shifting, making the doors move? These are all things you look for. Orbs. I don't like orbs. They do happen.
Yeah, but there's 3 different types of those.
Oh, well, they do happen. But, you have to really look careful with orbs. Because orbs are commonly dust. But
yep.
if they're dust orbs, they're just kind of moving randomly. They're not moving...
It's not like a controlled float.
It's not an intelligent movement. Now, if you have an intelligent movement for an orb, then you have to look at insects. You rule out dust and insects, then you might have some. I like CTV cameras. CTV cameras pick up great orbs. If you want to see orbs, those are the cameras I like to look at.
See, in here, I thought those were newsreel cameras.
Yeah. The idea in those CCTV cameras is that what you want to watch for is these orbs that kind of change direction. Yeah. Because you'll see a lot of things that just like move strictly across the screen from right to left, up and down, or whatever. But it is unusual when you see them, either make a pattern of travel or change direction, even slightly. Angle. Yeah, that's right. Those are very unique.
Those aren't insects.
they're,
right. Because the usually the field of vision for one of those CT cameras are not very in depth or wide enough to really capture, the whole idea of a bug, flitting across the screen. And mostly the bugs are going to be going straight across, or up and down.
Right. So if you think you have, we talked about pets earlier, but pets are something you want to watch because pets are going to tell you if you've got paranormal activity in your house. If there's your pets and your kids, because if your pets or kids were fine 1 minute and all of a sudden they are scared or won't go in a certain room of the house, I'd be paying attention to it.
Yes, especially since you probably are used to their patterns and how they react, and if you see something that's unusual, then you'll notice it, much better than people who are visiting or whatever. These are your soulmate animals that are in the house with you. You get to know how they react to certain sounds and different times of the year, weather, and all that kind of stuff. So you just got to keep an eye out for those unusual events that you'll see cats just staring out into a certain area of the room and reacting to that area of the room, and that's a red flag right there.
Yeah, and that's a common occurrence with about 80% of the cases we do. There's always. We've had a lot of child cases lately, and a lot of them, we know the case is closed when the client goes, "Oh, wow, Billy's playing in his room now. He hasn't been in there in 6 months." Okay, well, good. Then the entity is gone, or the spirit's crossed, or the fae are appeased. So yeah, you can always tell. How's the pets acting now? How are the kids acting now? Then you know when you're successful. So anyone got anything to add?
Well, the only thing I would add, especially where the fae are concerned, is they're one of the few entities that it would take an extreme situation for them to move indoors. They're one of those entities that just will not enter a solid house.
Well, unless they're brownies.
Well, even brownies, like the actual true brownies. Now, sprites are another issue. But true brownies, you'd only find them in like farmhouses,
right? Because
your farmhouses and more likely your barns.
Yeah, I was about to say brownies are often the livestock caretakers.
Yeah,
and they're also known for hearth and home.
Yeah, but they won't come into a city.
Oh no! Okay, I got you. Yeah, you won't. No. Okay. No, farmhouses. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to there. Is it's just you'll never find them in the city.
No. Well, and that's true with most fae. Other than the underground dwellers.
Yeah, but that's underground cities, and that's a whole different ballgame.
Right. So, moving on to paranormal protection, we'll start with talismans. Obviously, if you're Christian, you're going to wear a cross. But you have to have complete faith in your talisman. Just wearing a cross does nothing. You've got to have faith in your cross, or faith in your belief, for it to actually work.
Yeah, very definitely.
So the Ankh symbolizes power of life, strength, and psychic abilities. The arrowhead is protection from evil spirits. You place one on your doormat as well, or in your car. Beryl, known as the Mystic Stone, increases psychic ability. Used in dowsing stones helps locate lost items. The Eye of Horus is protection and intuitive strength. The Fox Amulet, developed in shape-shifting ability, or I would suggest maybe even helping in seeing a shapeshifter. Horseshoe. Oh, horseshoes are big in Germany too. Wear against evil, over your door against sorcery. Indian Head Amulet. Wear against all evil spirits. The Scarab, against all evil forces, renewal of life, sacred to God Capera. And I'm still here. I'm just checking something real quick.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have silence.
The Skeleton Key is good for repelling evil spirits. The Thunderbird, used in weather magic, also used against evil. And the Tiger, again used in shape-shifting amulet. So, stones. So what the FMP team recommends and what we use is black tourmaline. That's about one of the strongest. Any black stone is good for repelling negativity, but the black tourmaline is a strong, one of the stronger for keeping negativity away. It'll keep you from getting attachments, things of that nature. And we teach this in our protection class. It gets rid of negative energies and promotes well-being and prosperity. It repels and deflects negativity by acting as a deflector. Bloodstone. The bloodstone also fights evil and prevents jealousy. It boosts your spirit and adds longevity. It eases a broken heart and brings good fortune. Whenever the stone becomes blood red in color, it signals aware of any upcoming danger. And bloodstone, well, frankly, is one of my favorite stones. So the fire agate. And so you can get black tourmaline, for example, for a good, decent chunk for about $4 in most of your metaphysical shops. I gotta shift here. Fire agate. Now that's an expensive stone, but it's good for courage and strength. The fire agate is a stone of courage, protection, and strength. Mystical lore says it relieves fear. It halts gossip and even reflects any threat of harm back to the source. The amethyst. I love amethyst. We had it in Iraq all the time. It's what I call a peace stone. It increases spiritual awareness and imagination, used in all workings for peace, love, happiness, and protection. Used in astral, divination, dream, and psychic work. And I can't say enough about amethyst because one, it's a beautiful stone, and it does work with peace. When you're in Iraq and you're going outside the wire, you need all the peace you can get. Speaking of which, real quick, November 10th is our Veterans Day show. I am trying to get two of my combat buddies on the show with us so we can talk about how we feel about the state of the world as veterans, and did what we do in our service in the military actually do anything? I mean, frankly, I look at the state of the world today and ask why the hell I even served. So yeah, it's going to be a probably pretty intense show.
Well, I think we can safely say why you served.
Oh, yeah, to take care of soldiers, but I don't know.
No, actually, there's much more to it, in my opinion. Yeah. The thing that concerns me is the lack of concern that the upcoming generation, and even a lot of the older generation, seems to have.
Right. Right.
You know, the unfortunate part, and don't get me wrong, I'm a firm believer that Remembrance Day should be utilized. You know, put a banner on, as it were. But the problem is most people take it as that's the only day to remember.
Well, and I'm probably going to strike some nerves, but people get too confused between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. On Memorial Day, I'll get thanked for my service, and don't get me wrong, I appreciate it. But on Memorial Day, I'm remembering my brothers and sisters in arms I lost. That's what Memorial Day is for.
Right.
Veterans Day is for remembering all veterans. That's the difference.
The ones that came back.
Right.
What I would say on that, Eric, though, is when people thank you for your service on Memorial Day, we understand it's about the people who never made it back.
Right.
But we never had to know those people as closely as you did. We never had to watch that. And so it is also a day for you guys at the same time. That's why Canada, we only have one day. We have Remembrance Day, and it is a day for veterans and those who never made it back alike.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in all fairness, it's also for the ones that are still serving.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and may I say, even now, thank you everyone for your service that is in the military currently and has ever been.
Yes,
I'll
definitely.
back you up on that one.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm hoping there's two. Actually, I already have one locked in. Sean Lunsford's going to be on the show on the 10th, and I was with him in Fort Lewis, and he was also a pagan troop that we supported with Forest Moon Grove. So he'll be fun to have on the show. And the other one is Staff Sergeant Scott Slaughter, who's an interesting character and good brother of mine. Hope to get him on the show as well. So next stone, we're going to talk hematite. I love hematite too. Hematite's very shiny. I love shiny. But hematite is great for grounding. Now, I think what I don't like about hematite is when they make hematite rings. It weakens the structure of the stone, or the strength of the stone. So oftentimes, if you're going to use it as a grounding stone and you buy a ring, you will shatter it. Have you ever shattered hematite, Keith?
Well, no, but then in all fairness, I've never bothered buying a hematite ring.
Okay.
Neither will I buy a magnetic hematite.
No. Anything magnetized is unless it's natural magnetism, which you won't find. But if you go to a store and buy it magnetized, it's already
corrupted would be the word.
Right, it's corrupted the stone. So I wouldn't even mess with it.
Yeah.
So
do I have hematite? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
That brings up a question in my mind. Are there stones that you don't want to carry or wear together? Is there conflicts in energy that you want to avoid?
Absolutely.
There is, but that's a whole other class.
Got it.
You have to look at
the one thing I will say, and I agree with you, it's a whole other class, but the one thing, since it's up, do not put quartz crystal near a computer unless you're planning on blowing the motherboard out.
Right.
Very
it's
interesting.
An amplifier.
Now, quartz crystal is an interesting stone too, though, because quartz crystal can actually be used for multiple. It's all basically the intention you want the crystal to be used for. Because you can charge a quartz crystal for healing, you can charge a crystal for protection, and they're very good at it. You can charge a crystal for, actually you can use a crystal to trap an entity in.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Your smoky quartz you use for healing.
Okay.
Your snow quartz you use for, just drew a blank on that.
Yeah.
The clear quartz is what you're using for trapping and for knowledge matrix.
Right.
Okay. Your snow quartz is very good where that's the one safe quartz to use with most other stones. Because it's more of a balancing quartz than anything else.
And I've got a comment. So Craig's talking about fighting against children with slingshots. Well, you know what? The children in Somalia use slingshots, and they were very good at it. I know that's not the context you're using that in, but I had to say it.
As I recall, there was a funny shepherd by the name of by the name of David that got real nasty with a slingshot.
Well,
yes, he did.
And their slingshots they weren't the store-bought ones that we get in the sporting goods store here. They were actually a piece of cloth like they use in the Bible. They slung around their head and it released the rock and it hit the soldier right square in the middle of the head. And and that was in a moving 5-ton. So they were. I think David and Goliath comes to mind on that one.
Yeah. Mind you, I'm a little more modern. I figure if you're going to use a sling, maybe I'm just a little bit lazier than most, but I figure an MU-506 is a really good thing as far as a sling if you want to make an impact.
Right. So we're coming down to about the last 20 minutes here. So I'm going to talk about two more stones, rose quartz, which I always... So I have a box I take with me anytime I go to a client's... For boots on ground, I take it with me to the client's house. If they have children with nightmares, I always give the child a rose quartz. Of course, depending on the age, if they're 2, you don't give them a rock, they're going to put it in their mouth. But...
Well, don't put it in their hand anyway.
No. But I usually give it to the parent. I have them put it under their bed. It traps nightmares. Very good calming stone as well. And tiger's eye is the last one I'll bring up. And that's for protection, balance, meditation, starting new business, draws wealth and money, protects travelers, and increases clarity of thought.
See, and when you start talking about wealth and money, you've got the other two options, which are citrine, which again, because it's primarily quartz, don't put it near your computer, or malachite.
No. So herbs, angelica. Angelica is a very good overall herb to get. It's protected when grown. It's used in exorcism and protection incense. You sprinkle in the 4 corners of the house to ward off evil, or do so on the perimeter of the house. Add to the bath to remove hexes or curses. Basil, sprinkle on the floor, dispels evil, used in exorcism, incense, and in purification baths. And rosemary. I can't emphasize if you had to pick one herb to keep around, get a rosemary plant. Plant a rosemary bush outside your house and it keeps evil away. So this is some of the lore of the herbs and the stones that we do use. Again, we use black tourmaline on the team for any case we do. And now we're going to talk real quick. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask about one because it was popularized by TV, and it, if nothing else, I'd like to dispel the people from using it because it is popularized by TV.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys could do this for me, salt. Because I have seen it used in people's homes.
What's that?
Like in doorways and windows, they salt their doorways and windows to keep out spirits.
Well, that's what we do, but not to keep them out. Well, actually, it is used to keep them out. It's not a myth.
Okay.
But here's the thing. What irritates me too with sage is anytime someone comes up with an issue, oh, go sage your house. No, you don't. You got to find out what the issue is before you just go saging your house. So there was a scientific study done on sage, and sage actually takes the negative ions in the atmosphere and makes them positive. That was proven scientifically. So while it will take the negativity and make it positive, it does not completely banish the problem. Your malevolent entity might get mad and either shift rooms or leave for a moment, but it'll be right back. It's not gone.
Well, like with the salt issue, the best physical energy cleanser I've ever come across this lifetime for energy that's hanging on somebody is you grab a bathtub, fill it with as warm a water as you're comfortable with, and throw in 4 teaspoons of salt and 4 teaspoons of baking soda. Nothing else. Definitely not Epsom salt. Like normal salt works, right? And then you just soak for 20 minutes, half an hour, and you'll find you come out of the tub feeling a whole lot calmer than what you were when you went into it.
Well, and I always get asked, does it matter what kind? Store-bought salt, Epsom salt? I always recommend sea salt.
I recommend sea salt.
Yeah. Sea salt's the most natural. Comes straight from the ocean. Anything that comes straight from the earth, yeah, use that. So sea salt, definitely.
Well, sea salt's best. Table salt works. I absolutely, where it comes to clearing and that sort of thing, I absolutely recommend against Epsom salt. But Epsom salt, where it comes to illness, as in physical illness, from what I understand, is actually pretty useful.
Right.
Just not for energy work.
You know, honestly, all I just imagined was a guy in Alberta running out to the back pasture, grabbing the salt lick and hopping in the bath.
Yeah, that's a little bigger than 4 teaspoons.
A little bit. Unless you get a goat lick.
But if you're going to grab a lawn block that size, get a lot of baking soda because you're going into a pool.
Yeah,
right.
And it better be an Olympic size at that size.
You might start floating or something. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, since we're talking about salt and sage, so sage is great for after your home has been cleared. But it really, really irritates me when I see all these people. Oh, get the holy water, get the sage, No, you got to remove the problem first, and then you sage, you smudge. But it's irritating. So anyway,
I have a question for you from one of our chat room out here. Bill wants to know what's the difference between a Lemurian crystal and that of a quartz crystal, and are there things you need to know about on either one? I don't know what a Lemurian crystal would be, but he wants to know the difference between that and quartz.
Well, Lemurian crystals are actually much more suited for information storage for crystalline computers.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, they're much better aligned for it. Quartz, depending on the type, if we're talking clear quartz, which is what the Lemurian is in the first place, you're looking at energy amplifiers.
Okay.
And I was waiting for Keith to answer that because I had no idea. Oh, you got me on that one.
You're welcome.
So, yeah. When you get told to go ahead and sage, some people say, oh, you need to do it clockwise. Oh, you need to do it counterclockwise. It really, to me, and from experience, doesn't matter. What matters is you need to open up all the doors and the windows so that you have a clean flow. So you have an air current, basically, so that whatever's in can get out. And then you just go room to room. Now, once you're done saging, because actually we don't use white sage, we use a blend of frankincense, myrrh, rosemary, sage, and a number of other odds and ends. And it makes a very strong, potent, protective blend. But then what people forget about is your drains. And that's where your salt comes in, Cole. Because what people forget is while you've smudged your home, and it feels so much better and clean and clear, what's left open?
Well, and how much is of that, like, feeling pure and clean is just a thought process?
Sometimes.
Well, ironically enough, you're going to love this one. If you can get your thoughts to do that, thought process is actually faster than any of the above methods. But most people are not focused well enough to do it.
Right. I'm watching the chat room.
Because if you think about it, when you're talking about thought process, thought is what modifies the human body, mortal body altogether. And in all fairness, if you can clear your mind, or more to the point, relax it enough to tap directly into the neural net, you can modify your own energy and the energy in your house to clear everything negative out of it. The problem is that most people can't do that, and the last thing we want is people going, oh, I can just think about it and it'll go away. That ain't the way technically it's the way it works, but it takes a lot more work, as as Eric will tell you, or anybody on FMP will tell you.
Personally, I use tequila. I feel pretty for a few hours.
Yeah, but that makes people's clothes fall off, remember?
Right. So once you've done a good sage clearing, then you want to do a pinch of salt down your drains, down your toilet. If you got carpets, I would salt the carpets, vacuum it up, because the properties that you want there, you don't have to have salt sitting there. Who's seen Skeleton Key?
Well, I have, but they complain about we make them.
No, well, they bring up red brick dust in Skeleton Key, and that's an old southern, I believe it's old southern or Appalachian tradition that they always used. In place of salt, they'd use brick dust.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's still used today. Now,
and it still works today.
Does it? I was about to say, I'm not sure the potency between brick dust and salt. I'd be curious about testing that theory.
Well, salt is definitely better unless you can get, if you look at the red bricks that are in most cities, not great. If you can get a hold of your terracotta bricks, that's a whole different ballgame.
Okay. And I believe it was terracotta they actually used in Iraq. I think. Which
would make sense. It's easier to come across over there.
Yeah.
Something to do with Canadians and Americans won't ship the red bricks over.
Okay, so Kayla wants to know, does it matter if the stone's polished or finished? Does it still work? Yeah, it does, but raw is always better.
Oh yeah, because if you've got it polished or finished, you've got to roughen the edge to let the energy work, or at least you got to let it work properly.
Yeah. But I'd say raw ruby, raw. There's quartz. There's quartz quarries here in Skagit County still. I used to go there as a kid, and they had some great quartz that you can just find naturally. And
what if it's naturally polished by like a river, though?
Well, that's fine.
Oh, naturally polished by a river, that's a whole different ballgame.
Well, that's got natural energy added to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's naturally polished by a river, or even for that matter by running water, although that's going to take a while.
Right.
It's when you start, it's when you start polishing them, or worse, sealing them. Right, because some people put a lacquer around it almost to hold them in, to hold their coloring and what have you, and that just completely wrecks the functionality of it.
Indeed, I'm trying to think of anything we're missing.
Probably a whole lot, but when you hang up the system, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, darn it, I missed this. Anyway, last thing you always need to get is the reflective surfaces, mirrors. Mirrors can open up portals. They can open up gateways if they're, especially what people don't understand is the old style bathroom mirrors, where they have the swinging doors and the mirrors face each other. That opens the doorway.
The one thing about mirrors is if you're hanging them in your house, and they're facing a door or a window, make sure you put ivy, either live ivy or even Deckel's work, around it, because it'll knock all of the energy out if it's trying to come in.
There you go. Agreed. And when you're doing your house cleansing, you want to make sure that you wash your mirrors and windows, again, with a warm salt solution. Salt is key. And I'm glad you brought that up, Cole, because, yeah, salt is very instrumental in what we do. As part of what the extended care team covers a lot of when they're doing the closing of the cases. So we've come down to the last 5 minutes of the show. Keith, go ahead and plug your books real quick, and where can people find you?
Well, finding me is the easy part. Here, you can find me on Facebook, Ronald Keith Andrews, or my email is innervoiceenterprises@yahoo.ca. And the two books that I've right now got, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams, which you can order through me, $10 plus shipping. I've got another one, Believe in Your Business, coming out within the month. And of course, the first novel, the first of a series of novels, Ilderbach, The Birth of the Wolf Pack, which is science fiction, science fantasy, will be out in time for Christmas.
Oh, cool.
Wonderful.
And Michael, where can we find UFO I-Team?
Oh, yes. You can get the UFO I-Team, that's a lowercase I, on Facebook. Real easy to find us there. If you also want to go to the Paranormal Lawyer on Facebook, you can find me in both places. If you'd like to, like the either one of the Facebook pages, you'll get notified every time we go live on FMP or any of the other shows that we put on a weekly basis. So thanks for that. And I want to wish everyone a safe and sane Halloween. And if there was one thing that we might want to tell people to do to protect themselves with all these strange spirits and children running around the neighborhood, it might be a good thing to tell them what to do when they open their door.
Well, I do believe the term is say trick or treat.
Give them candy, or you might get a trick.
There you go.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Are you still doing your show on Saturday nights?
Yes. It's actually been cut down to 1 hour because of the better idea to get people on the East Coast earlier. So it's 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on nightdreamsradio.com.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was wondering how you were able to take a nap tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, it's easy. A lot of dead air.
All right. So, Cole, tell us where we can find Statement of Sound DJ Productions.
Well, we're on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJ and anyone can call me at 360-999-2830 for any of your DJ needs. I'm also starting a new side to the business for production of any different types of intros. I was able to create the one for tonight, and I will be creating a new one for this show. And for anyone else that needs anything like that, I can sure as heck give it a go.
Outstanding. So yes, our music did come from the creative mind of Cole, just for our Halloween special, and Stephen Gill of Twisted Images, Twisted Studios Department for our closing music. As always, you can catch S4 on the Fringe FM every Saturday night at midnight PST and KSVU 90.1 FM Saturday 10 to 12. So next weekend, November 3rd, we're talking, are you sitting down? Because it might be a riveting show. Is voting rigged? And who controls politics? Is it the Bilderbergs, Illuminati, or are there other powers that be? So, thank you again for listening to S4. Keep your eyes to the skies. Remember, it's you that gives us a reason to produce S4. Have a great weekend, S4ians.